my name is Christina. I am Whilst Iris Snaps on Instagram and Whilst Iris Snaps Designs, and this is a video about cross stitch. This is video number 16 and it has been a while. I've almost forgotten what to do and what to say, and I must apologise for the dreadful lighting here. It's a really dark, damp and miserable day here in North Yorkshire today. But if I held off for better lighting, I wouldn't get another video filmed until next May. So I'm just going to have to carry on regardless, I'm afraid. So what am I going to share in today's video? Well, I have my offering for Black Sampler November this year, which is Rachel Banham. I have my most recent freebie release, which is Myra Dunn 1922. I have the Halloween exchange that I did with my Stitchy BFF April, and then I'm going to share some stitching that I have managed to get done in the last few months. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, so first up is Rachel Banham, and as I've already mentioned, Rachel is my contribution to this year's Black Sampler November. And for those who don't know, Black Sampler November is an event, a hashtag, hosted on Instagram by the very lovely Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery. So what can I tell you about Rachel's sampler? Well, if I show you the original, it's only a teeny tiny sampler. Rachel stitched it on 44 count linen. And as you can see, I have adapted the colours to tie in with the Black Sampler theme. It's not something I do very often. In fact, I think this is only the second time I've done so. But I just wasn't really that keen on the colours that Rachel chose for her sampler. If I show you the reverse, you'll get a better idea of the dark blues and greens and yellows. Not really my thing, I'm afraid, Rachel. And sadly, Rachel didn't stitch a date or a year on her sampler. However, when I took the sampler from its frame, I did discover a rather charming note written on the backing board in pencil. And it says, "Cleaned March 30th, 1938, by E. Freebie, 18 Ellis Road, Clacton." And I was able to trace an Emma Freebie living at the same address in the 1939 census, which was the emergency census taken here in the UK just before the start of the Second World War. And I also found Emma Freebie recorded in a local history book. She apparently was a nurse during the Great War in a convalescence home, and she provided nursing duties and needlework for the patients, which I thought was a lovely touch to discover that Emma was a keen stitcher too. I had hoped that knowing who Emma Freebie was would lead to our stitcher Rachel Banham. And I did manage to find a gentleman online who'd done quite a lot of research into Emma's own family tree. I put a search in for the surname Banham and did manage to find some people in Emma's tree with the surname Banham. Unfortunately, no Rachel Banhams, but it's such an unusual surname, there has to be a link. If there is one, I'm determined to find it. And I've got to say, when I first saw the note, I thought, oh Emma, what have you done? Washed or cleaned the sampler? You've ruined it. It's not in the best of conditions, I'm afraid. However, who's to know what condition the sampler was in when Emma found it? Perhaps she's done us all a favour. So, my model. I stitched it on 36 count raw linen from Zweigart using Weeks Dye Works threads. As always, I do provide a DMC conversion. It's teeny tiny, just 79 by 110, and there are no speciality stitches, so it is suitable to be stitched on linen or Aida. I was very tempted to wrap it around a spool, but I thought, no, come on, Christina, one trick pony, think outside the box. So I ended up going with a very basic hem stitch. I do always say that I'm a stitcher, not a sewer. I'm not very good with finishes like this at all. However, having followed some tutorials on YouTube, I didn't find it difficult. I found it fiddly and I found it time consuming, and I did get some help from my mum to do these corners because I wanted them really nice and tight and neat. But yes, there we go. That's Rachel Banham, and she can be downloaded from my website. While we're on the subject of Black Sampler November, for those who purchased my Black Sampler 2021 chart last year and haven't got around to finishing, or indeed starting it, no judgment here, I have updated the PDF file to include a 2022 option. The updated PDF can be accessed via your original purchase email. However, if you have any problem at all getting a hold of it, please just give me a shout either over on Instagram or via the contact form on my website. And for those that purchase the chart now, you will have the option to stitch either 2021 or 2022. Now to Halloween exchanges. For those who have followed me for some time, either on Instagram or here on FlossTube, you may recall that my stitchy BFF April, who is April May June Stitcher on Instagram, she and I participate in 3 exchanges every year. A birthday exchange because we happen to share the same April birthday, a Halloween exchange and a Christmas exchange. And here is what April stitched for Halloween for me this year. Isn't it adorable? It's not showing very well, unfortunately, because of the glass. We're getting a lot of glare, but I will pop a photograph in at the end. I absolutely love it. It's stunning, and I particularly like the aged ribbon that April added. April tells me that it's called Eek, and it's from Time for Halloween by Brenda Gervais. And the watch fob is from Tim Holtz, his Ideaology collection. And I've never finished using Tim Holtz accessories before, but I couldn't resist treating myself to a few bits and bobs. Amongst others, I purchased these tiny watch fobs. As you can see, they're considerably smaller than the one that April finished for me. And I'd love to stitch gingerbread men in these fobs and hang them on my gingerbread tree this year. I just need to find a chart small enough, or perhaps stitch it over one. Not happening. Or maybe design one myself, because I've got lots of free time at the moment. But yes, thank you so much, April. I love this. It's the most perfect gift. For April, I stitched Spooky from the Boo Club by Lizzie Kate. I do have all of these charts. I would love to stitch them all together one day. One day. But for April, I finished it as a pin cushion and trimmed it with a beaded edge. I'll pop in a photograph here. I used a 36 count Coco from Weekstyworks, which was the call for linen, very unusual for me, and I used most of the called for threads. The Spooky is stitched in Weekstyworks taffeta, which is the loveliest shade of purple, and it's a really nice thread to work with, you know, some are nicer than others. Don't get me started on white thread and how my crosses look when stitched in white. Oh my goodness, that's a story for another day, I feel. The beaded trim, I used seed beads from Mill Hill. I used 3 different colours. So yes, I think you'll agree, another very successful exchange. Thank you so much, April. I really enjoy these exchanges that we do. And before my box of Halloween decorations goes back up into the loft for another year, I thought I would share some previous Halloween exchanges that April has stitched for me. I do realise that I've shared most of these before on my videos, but they're too good not to share again. This is last year's exchange. This is Yikes Berry from Erica Michaels, and April had to dye the fabric herself for this one. Isn't it a fabulous colour? And again, really love those ribbons on the top. And this one, oh, another favourite of mine. This is October 31st, a Blackbird design. Just as pretty on the inside as it is on the outside. Such a lovely finish. And this is from the Winds of Autumn booklet. Of course, I already own this booklet myself because I buy all the Blackbirds. Then this one is Hocus, Pocus from Shepherd's Bush. And I believe if you buy the button, the chart is complimentary. But yes, another lovely finish. And finally, this one, I always forget the name. This is Potted Jacks and Crows from Primitive Betty's. And this is a freebie. And I'll pop the link to this in the drop down box below. So that's it, Halloween over for another year. Now I'd like to tell you about my most recent freebie, which is a sampler that I designed and dedicated to my paternal grandmother, Myra Dunn, who, as you can see, was born in 1922, and she was my Nana Raffle. I've often spoken of my grandparents, both on Instagram and here on FlossTube, of the huge impact that they had on my life. I adored all of them. It was my Nana Raffle who taught me how to cross stitch when I was 8 years old, and just look where that has led. My grandparents spoiled us rotten, not just with gifts and sweets and ice cream floats courtesy of Grandad, but with their time. Nothing was ever too much trouble, and I will be forever grateful for that. I'm thrilled to say that my own children have the same relationship with their grandparents. My mum, if she hasn't seen my children for a few days, will start to pine, and when she calls, she never asks about me, it's always about the kids first. My Nana Raffle wasn't perfect though. I mentioned in the chart that she and I would spend hours together stitching at her kitchen table, drinking endless cups of tea with custard creams dipped in. Oh, I love custard cream. But my Nana's favourite biscuits were ginger snaps. Oh, I can't bear them. I can't bear the sight of them. I can't bear the smell of them. Oh. And she would put a whole packet of ginger snaps into the biscuit barrel with the rest of the biscuits, so that every single biscuit in that barrel tasted of ginger snaps. And as you can see, it's something that I feel very strongly about. I mentioned it several times, and did she do anything about it? No, she did not, which I think says a lot for my Nana's character more than anything else. And I remember when I was pregnant with our children, I suffered terribly with morning sickness, and I remember the midwife saying to me, what about having just a little dry ginger snap biscuit when you first wake up? Ugh, I could think of nothing worse. I do realise that this is a controversial topic, that I will get lots of comments from people telling me how much they love ginger snaps. But look, I'll eat almost any other biscuit. I'll even eat a bourbon if it's the last one in the barrel, but ginger snaps, ugh, not for me, sorry. I appear to have gone off on a bit of a tangent there, so should I tell you a little bit more about the sampler itself? I stitched the model on 36 count sugar cookie from Handmade number 12, and I used Weeks Dye Works Sky, which is a beautiful shade of blue. I think it's my new favourite thread. The sampler is 139 by 79 stitches, and there are no speciality stitches, so it's suitable to be stitched on linen or Aida. There are fewer than 2,000 stitches in the whole sampler, so one skein of floss was more than enough on 36 count using one strand. If I show you the chart, you'll see that I have removed my Nana's name from the chart. I've popped it along the bottom just for positional purposes, but I've left this part blank so you can personalise the sampler. And can I suggest, because I know that my Nana had a very short name, if the person that you are dedicating the sampler to has a longer name, you might want to take the year and put it here instead. It will fit, and then that will give you more room for the name. Just a little suggestion. The sampler can be downloaded for free from my website, and I very much look forward to seeing who you dedicate your samplers to. And to finish, what else have I been stitching on since my last video? Well, first up is a tiny ornament that I managed to get stitched up for the hashtag 12 in 22 ornament stitch along, which is hosted by Carol, who is Caroling55 over on Instagram. And this is a fabulous freebie called 7 Pines from Little House Needleworks. And it's stitched up in no time at all. And I've been meaning to stitch this freebie for years and years. I must have printed it out about 7 or 8 years ago. And I think I would like to finish it with a red and white beaded edge, kind of a candy cane theme going on. Hopefully I can get that FFO'd before Christmas this year. And I will pop the link for the freebie in the drop down box below. Thank you very much, Diane from Little House Needleworks. Much of my time this year has been spent stitching models for exclusive designs that I was incredibly flattered to have been asked to do, 2 of which must remain top secret for now, but I am able to share with you an exclusive that I reproduced for the Sampler Guild of the Rockies, which is a sampler guild in Denver, Colorado. And this sampler was reproduced for their stitching day back in August. And this is Miss Martha Martin, 1831. I want to say that I love this sampler, but it goes way beyond that. I am obsessed with it. She's kept with a few other antique samplers in our front room, and every time I walk in there I glance over and smile. I just love everything about it. Am I allowed to say that about one of my own samplers? I was able to join the Sampler Guild of the Rockies for their stitching day in August, albeit virtually, and I had a really enjoyable afternoon. What a wonderful group of stitchers. And I wanted to say a special thank you to Doris and Shari. They made my first ever exclusive such a positive experience. They were a joy to deal with, so thank you so much, ladies. I will be releasing this sampler in February, so look out for it then, and I will obviously chat a bit more about it when I release the chart. So I think that's about it for today. I will be back soon with another video. I still have lots to share, some purchases, some stitchy kindness that I've received, and 1 or 2 or maybe 3 new releases. They're coming thick and fast now after a drought this year. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.